rising up. You don't really know it, son. Me, I got something that I need to prove. I cannot lose, nah. Everything I do that really is news. You look confused, why? You are what you choosing to do. Me, I've been making the moves, paying my dues, getting this done with the fam. Y'all know that I am the dude. Bend that low, hit that high, got that hustle, got that drive. One more time, best alive. I want it all, everything mine.
These damn wide receivers are falling off left and right. But don't worry. There's like 1 million receivers in the National Football League. There's always options at receiver. That's why when I'm drafting these fantasy teams, I go running back heavy. I swing and miss sometimes. I definitely swung and missed on Rachaad White and Zamir White this year. That's for damn sure. And I was worried about a couple guys that really have looked like the best fucking running backs in the league. So my evaluation was a little bit off with the running backs, but I really wasn't too far off with the receivers. I think that I've got a pretty good feel on these receivers right now. So if you had any Rams receiver or you've got a 49ers receiver who's just not fucking doing it, bad news is Jauan Jennings is definitely gone now. So we got to look really deep on the waiver wire to find the gold, but I'm telling you, there's still gold available in your fantasy football league.
There's something in the water. Can you feel it? It tastes like confidence.
The number one receiver that you need to add this week if you were looking for help is Jalen Tolbert. Jalen Tolbert is the third wide receiver for Dallas. Right now, the Dallas Cowboys are first in passing attempts. Dak Prescott is slinging the ball. Not only that, they've been playing really bad. They've been playing from behind. What do you do when you play from behind? Especially big margins. They were getting blown out by Baltimore, and they got blown out by New Orleans. When Dallas is getting blown out, they're going to lean heavy on their $60 million a year quarterback. And he's slinging the ball all over the yard. Jalen Tolbert is averaging 45 yards per game, and he's second on the team in targets. That wide receiver 3 shit don't mean nothing. Jalen Tolbert is already Dak's second favorite receiver. So obviously there's a huge gap between CeeDee Lamb and everybody else. We all knew that going in. But with Brandon Cooks being there before and already having some sort of a rapport with Dak Prescott in this offense, I expect him to get more. But Jalen Tolbert has already got him out-targeted by a 14-8 clip over the last 2 games. This is a Dallas team that cannot run the football, and they're leaning heavy on these receivers. In the red zone, he's getting 33% of their targets. If they get down there, he is a potential target to score a touchdown. Right now, he's averaging 5.3 targets per game. So looking at the percentage that typically targets lead to, that's giving you 4 easy PPR points right there. Then you couple that with him being a red zone threat and Dak's second favorite target right now, all signs point to yes, especially when you consider they are also playing the New York Giants, who are ranked 29th against the pass on Thursday night. Thursday night games are notoriously a shit show. It's either a complete blowout or it's like some 6-9 ball game because everybody on the field can't perform. What I expect tonight is that the Dallas Cowboys, who now have just got embarrassed twice at home, I think that they're going to throw the ball fucking everywhere tonight against the Giants. But Jalen Tolbert's available in 95% of your leagues. He's available, I'm telling you. The second wide receiver that you need to add this week is Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson has already passed up Greg Dortch. Now, if you remember, week 1, Greg Dortch had like 9 targets. This is when Marvin Harrison only had 1 or 2 targets. But Michael Wilson has slowly taken over this receiving corps. And they're playing Washington. As good as Washington is playing on offense, as loose as Jay Daniels is playing, he ain't tackling nobody. And none of their players on defense are either. They got into a duel last week with Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow, as embarrassing of a loss as it was, that shit was not on the Bengals offense at all. I'm telling you right now, Kyler Murray, the way that he's playing, and with all the attention that's going to be on Marvin Harrison Jr., now, I hope that Trey McBride plays. And the reason that I hope that he plays is because that's just another quality weapon that you've got to take seriously. You have to respect him, is just going to open up Michael Wilson. And when you look at it, over the last 2 games, Michael Wilson has surpassed Greg Dortch in targets 11-8. Already this year, he has 2 receptions for over 20 plus yards. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but there's only like 10 guys who have 4 or more. There's not been a whole lot of deep bombs. This isn't an NFL where dudes are putting the ball in the air further than 5 or 6 yards. The quarterbacks just are not loosening up and slinging the rock down the field. But with all the attention that Marvin Harrison's going to draw, he's a serious problem for big play potential. All signs point to this is going to be a game where Michael Wilson will probably end up, he's averaging 4.3 targets per game. You can translate that to pretty much 3 receptions a game. But I think that you could see very easily him getting 5 or 6 targets because of all the attention the other guys are going to get. When I bet this week, I'm going to run a ladder up on his receiving yards. I'm going to bet him at 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. Washington is horrible against the pass, especially on the deep balls. I mean, they let Andre Iosivas or whatever from the Bengals last week look like Andre fucking Johnson. And if Michael Wilson's their deep threat, I think that this is going to be a huge game for him. The third receiver that you got to add this week is Jalen McMillan in Tampa Bay. He's available in 96% of your fantasy leagues, so I know he's still sitting there. They're also playing the Philadelphia Eagles, who surprisingly are dead last in the NFL at stopping the pass. Not only that, Jalen McMillan is 10th in the entire NFL out of the wide receivers in yards per reception. He's averaging 19.7. Talk about a big threat guy. And when you've got Chris Godwin and Mike Evans opposite sides of you, oh yeah, you're going to get open. So assuming they can look remotely like themselves again, unlike last week where they fucking look like hammered dog shit against the Denver Broncos, everybody needs to pump their brakes, okay? Don't overreact. This is a classic, there's the Baker that we saw in Cleveland. Don't do that, okay? This is a favorable matchup. He's only getting 2 targets per game. But with as bad as Philly's been against the pass, I expect way more than 2 targets. But by way more, I mean 4, possibly 5. I mean, I'm not talking 9 or 10 targets. But when you average 19.7 yards per reception, oh yeah, you could have a day. And clearly they don't have a solid running game. Rachaad White, their starting running back's only averaging like 3 yards per carry. Bucky's averaging about 5.5, 6. But they're not going to give him that snap count. Point is, they're not going to put a huge emphasis on running the football. They're going to air it out because Philly seems to be vulnerable against the pass. I'm telling you, I really, really like Jalen McMillan. The fourth and last wide receiver that I'm going to give you for this week is Jahan Dotson. Now, Jahan Dotson has slowly and steadily been picking up this offense. If you remember, he started the season in training camp with the Washington Commanders. He was a late trade to Philly right before the season started, and I said, I really like Jahan Dotson, but he has no value in Philly. Well, what happens? A.J. Brown goes down. He's out for 2 weeks, so Jahan Dotson's on the field. They were throwing the ball to Britton Covey and fucking the second tight end. Like, that's what it was. But last week, Britton Covey pretty much didn't have a role in this offense at all. It was all Dallas Goedert, but guess who was on the field? Jahan Dotson. He's been slowly and steadily increasing in snap percent. I'm telling you, it's because he didn't know the offense yet. It has nothing to do with his skill, but the opportunity presented itself before he was truly ready. So he's been out there. The dude's been wide open. He just hasn't been getting the ball. He's only gotten 1.7 targets per game. That's not going to happen this week, I'm telling you. With Devonta Smith now being out too with a concussion and A.J. Brown probably still not coming back, Jahan Dotson just became the number 1 on this offense. He's probably going to get 5, 6, 7, 8 targets. And like I said, he's been steadily increasing in snap count. He passed Britton Covey, who was like the go-to guy 2 weeks ago when they played Atlanta. Jahan Dotson last week got 88% of the snap count, and Britton Covey only got 10. And that's with receivers out. I'm telling you, Jahan Dotson is slowly and steadily picking this offense up, and he's going to get loose this week. Not only that, Jahan Dotson is available in 92% of your fantasy leagues. They're playing against Tampa Bay, who's 25th in stopping the pass. Tampa Bay has 7 guys on the injury report. Their defense is about as battered and beaten as it gets. If you're hurting at the wide receiver position, I'm telling you, Go get Jahan Dotson. He'll probably have 20 this week.
How you play the game with the people that writing the rules? Ain't the fame that I'm after when paying the dues. I've been through the pain that's reflected in the attitude. Might be winning now, but the thing is that I had to lose. So go and tell me what you really want to do. And lonely at the top, cause there ain't a lot of room. Ain't no other option, it's all I ever knew. So I'ma get it poppin', you know how I'ma do. I've been down through the blood and the sweat. Guarantee you can know I'm a threat. I've been down